What people really mean when they say that you're too sensitive is that they can't handle how they feel when they sense your sensitivity. And this video is for you. Welcome back, and first off, if this is your first time here and you want to learn about different ways of managing and handling your anxiety, living as somebody who's quite sensitive in this world and what that means, then please make sure that you subscribe and turned on the notifications so you know each and every time I post a video. Before I get started, I want to introduce you to this t-shirt. It's the Lucy Rayner Foundation. I'm going to link them in the comments below. They're a charity very close to my heart. I've done lots of work with them. They are superheroes in terms of being doers. And they're out there in the world changing things and making the world a much more healthy space in terms of mental health. So today I'm talking about sensitivity, and predominantly the idea that some people believe that I'm too sensitive. It's something that I've experienced a lot throughout my life as a young person growing up and through into adulthood. I've consistently been fed this message that somehow my sensitivity is equal to weakness. And that's not true. What I now recognize, the more and more that I embrace my sensitivity and understand my sensitivity, is I understand it much more as a superpower. Now, what do I mean when I say sensitivity? Well, I identify myself as a highly sensitive person. That is a term, it is a thing. I'll link some of the other videos that I've done on this stuff. But what I mean in simplistic terms is I'm sensitive to things like touch and smell, and I have the light turned right down on my phone. I'd wear sunglasses 24/7 if I could. I don't like such as certain feelings of certain materials on my skin, and sound, you know, sometimes loud things can make me feel oversensitive. But mostly what I'm talking about, what impacts my life in a much bigger way, is my sensitivity to emotions, okay? Sensitivity to the ways that I feel and how I pick up on other people's emotions. Go and check out my Instagram account if you haven't before. I recently did a post about separating my codependent tendencies from my sensitivity. That's an important understanding. That's not what this video is going to be predominantly about, but working out the difference between the two has really, really helped me in embracing my sensitivity and helping myself to see it as much more of as a positive thing in my life. So why do people think that I'm sensitive? Well, look, if you listen to the first line, the way that I introduced this video, what I now recognize, and I recognize this upon self-reflection of being around sensitive people and how and when I get frustrated with sensitive people. So this is a self-reflection thing, not a judgment thing. But I recognize that what people mean when they say that I'm too sensitive is that they can't handle how they feel when they sense my sensitivity. And so what I've noticed is that we will then try to suppress that in people, and people do this a lot within our society. We use things, I believe, like masculine and feminine, and I'm not going to get into that debate today, but lots of people will say that sensitivity is like this feminine trait, and that I'm somehow less of a man, less masculine, because I'm feminine. For me, I don't need to link the two, and actually I think the two are used as a way of trying to suppress that in people. And so when I'm around a lot of people, because it makes me quite intense, because it makes me quite sensitive, I think at a deep level and at an unconscious almost level within people, when they sense my sensitivity, it makes them feel like it's harder to hide some of the certain parts of them, because they're deep in their intuition. They know that my sensitivity means that they can't be a certain way. So it's almost like I'm consistently holding a mirror up to people. And again, the reason I feel like I'm able to say this is because as a sensitive person, when I'm around somebody else who's sensitive, I get that awkward feeling. Case in point is my son, who's a very sensitive person. Next week's video is going to be about parenting a sensitive person, particularly from the standpoint of being a sensitive person and what that means, and how the struggle that comes with that, and how I'm consistently trying to suppress certain parts of him, even though I don't want to, because when the sensitivity comes together, it feels very overwhelming for me. So what happens in society, and what I'm kind of noticing the more that I kind of fly the flag for sensitive people, is that some people are taking my promotion of sensitivity within people. But I particularly fight a corner for young boys, because I was a young boy that felt like I had to hide my sensitivity, and I see that in my son. Because I fly the flag for that, people are taking that as an attack on the kind of opposite traits of, I don't know, being kind of boisterous and less sensitive. let's say. And so what they try to do, it feels like an attack on that, and it's not an attack on that. It's saying that we can all coexist in this space, and there should be room for everybody. When one is very, very sensitive, it doesn't make them any less or more of anything other than more of a sensitive person, right? And we don't promote that within our society. So this isn't just a boy thing. I think girls are taught as well to not be too sensitive, yeah? And what you'll find is lots of people who are sensitive will grow up with the idea that their sensitivity is a burden on people, because that's the message that they've had delivered to them throughout their lives. And so when you hear a sensitive person sharing about their feelings and their emotions, you will often hear them follow it up with sentences like, I'm sorry to share this with you, I don't want to burden you with my stuff. And that's because when we feel these things that we're sensitive to, that we can't just pretend aren't happening, emotions and feelings that we can't just block out because we're too sensitive to them, a lot of people are trying to block that out. They're trying to block out these parts of themselves and their sensitivity, and they can block them out and get on with it. We can't do that. So as young people growing up, when we were expressing those parts that other people were trying to suppress, people would then suppress that within us, right? And then so we're taught to not trust it, we're taught that it's a burden, and we're taught that it's quite a bad thing, when actually it's a goddamn superpower, let me tell you that, yeah? It helps me in my job, it helps me in my relationships with people. The more and more I begin to hone it, the more and more I trust my gut instincts, the more and more I trust my intuition, the more and more I trust everything that comes with that sensitivity, I realize how big my world gets, how large my opportunities become. But at surface level, it may look like it's smaller because it means I don't have time for a lot of people that want to suppress that part of me. You know, if you can't accept my sensitivity, if you don't like my sensitivity, then you don't need to be in my world, right? And what that means is that I have a much smaller social circle, but it's one that's filled with meaning. It's one that's filled with people that are willing to build up that part of me, okay? And so I spend time being compassionate for that part of me. Now, don't get me wrong, there is always the flip days. That's my football manager saying I've got to bring £10 fine. So as much as I talk about being sensitive, when I play football, I'm getting fined left, right and centre. So don't get me wrong, I do have the days when it overwhelms me, right? I have the days when my sensitivity feels like it's too much and I wish that I wasn't sensitive. But the more and more that I move towards it, and the more and more that I just cut people out of my life that are not doing it, cut people out of my life that don't feel comfortable in my sensitivity, the more and more I'm able to grow into myself and expand on who I am. And that's why I fly the flag so kind of outwardly across the work that I do, in the places that I go. I'm always flying the flag for the sensitive people, because I believe that when we embrace it and when we create spaces within our society where you're allowed to do this and be this, then we're going to have less people struggling with this sensitivity. That's what today's video has been about. So if you want to come and speak to me, then come. If you want to speak to me, then contact me, yeah? You can message me in the comments below. You can come through any of my social medias and chat to me about this sensitivity. If you feel like you're a sensitive person and you want to explore that, come and see me. I try to respond to everybody throughout and across my social media and across my platforms, because I want us to all come together and help us to grow as sensitive people. I think we are the most amazing bunch of people out there. We're game changers, we're world changers, and I think we should stick together. I appreciate if you managed to listen to the end, and if you have done, make sure that you've liked this video. This one's been for you guys, and I'll see you next week. Next week's video is going to be about parenting sensitive people, so look out for that one, and I'll see you there.